And let me ask you something, when you look at your life honestly, who is in control? Your goals or your moods? Your discipline or your excuses? And because the hardest battle you will ever fight is not against the world, not against people, not against circumstances, and the hardest battle is the one you fight within yourself. And until you master yourself, nothing outside of you will ever truly fall into place. And self-mastery is not about perfection. It's about control. It's about choosing growth over comfort, discipline over distraction, and purpose over pleasure. And most people want success, confidence, and peace, but they don't want to do the inner work required to earn it. Today, I'm here to tell you the truth, and if you can master yourself, you can master your life. Look around. The world is full of talented people who never made it. Not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked discipline. They couldn't control their habits. They couldn't control their emotions. They couldn't control their time. And mastering yourself starts when you stop blaming the outside world and start taking full responsibility for the inside one. Your thoughts, your reactions, your choices, and this is where power lies. You don't rise to the level of your motivation, you fall to the level of your discipline. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent, and on the days you don't feel like showing up, those are the days that define you. When you train your mind to act even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's boring, and even when no one is watching, that's self-mastery. That's strength. Emotional control is another level of mastery most people never reach, and they let anger decide their words. They let fear decide their actions. They let doubt decide their future. A mastered mind does not react, it responds. It pauses, and it thinks. It chooses. When you control your emotions, you stop giving other people the remote control to your life. And let me be clear, and self-mastery is not built in a single moment. It's built in daily decisions, waking up when it's hard, saying no to distractions, and doing the work even when results are invisible. Every small, disciplined action is a vote for the person you want to become. And over time, those votes create an unshakable identity. Most people try to conquer the world without conquering themselves first. But the truth is simple: when you master yourself, and confidence becomes natural, focus becomes sharp, discipline becomes automatic, you stop chasing validation because you respect yourself too much to quit. And you don't need applause, you need progress. Most people spend their entire lives waiting for someone else to fix what only they can control. They blame their past and their parents, their economy, their boss, or their luck. But here's the uncomfortable truth: nothing changes the moment you point fingers, and everything changes the moment you take responsibility. The second you accept that your life is the direct result of your choices, you reclaim your power. And responsibility is not a burden, it is freedom. Because if you are responsible, then you are also capable of change. And taking full responsibility means refusing to live as a victim. It means understanding that even when situations are unfair, your response still belongs to you. And you may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you react, how you adapt, and how you move forward. And that awareness alone separates leaders from followers and winners from excuses. The strongest individuals are not those with perfect circumstances, but those who decided to rise despite imperfect ones. Here's the hook most people avoid hearing: the moment you blame something outside yourself, you give your power away. And the moment you own everything, your failures, your habits, your results, you take that power back. Responsibility sharpens your focus. It forces honesty, and it demands growth. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I do about it right now?" That shift changes everything. And when you take responsibility, your standards rise automatically. You stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline. And you stop making excuses and start making progress. Every decision becomes intentional. Every action has weight. You no longer drift through life reacting to events, and you move with purpose, creating outcomes. Self-mastery begins here, in this mindset. Not tomorrow, not when conditions improve. Right now. And the day you fully accept responsibility for your life is the day you stop being controlled by circumstances and start becoming the architect of your future. And most people wait to feel motivated before they take action, and that's exactly why they stay stuck. Motivation is emotional, and it rises when things are exciting and disappears the moment discomfort shows up. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. It shows up when energy is low, and when progress is slow, and when no one is watching. The hard truth is this: if your success depends on motivation, your success will always be temporary. And here's the hook most people don't want to accept: every high performer you admire succeeds on days they don't feel like it. They don't wait for inspiration, and they move first and let momentum catch up later. Discipline is the ability to act without negotiation. No debate, no excuses, just execution. And it's what separates those who talk about their goals from those who quietly achieve them. Discipline is built in small moments that seem insignificant. Waking up on time and finishing what you start. Choosing focus over distraction. These moments train your mind to obey your standards instead of your emotions. And once your mind learns that excuses are no longer an option, everything changes. Confidence grows, not because you feel good, but because you trust yourself to do what you said you would do. Motivation asks, do I feel like it today? Discipline asks, and what needs to be done? One is weak under pressure, the other thrives in it. When discipline becomes your default, consistency becomes automatic, and you stop relying on external hype and start operating from internal control. That's real power. The most disciplined people are not robots, and they simply understand something most people ignore: short-term discomfort is the price of long-term freedom. Every disciplined action strengthens your identity, and you are no longer someone who tries, you become someone who executes. And once discipline leads your life, motivation stops being necessary, and because progress itself becomes the fuel that keeps you moving forward. Most people believe their biggest problems come from the outside world, but the real damage happens inside, in moments when emotions take control. 1 second of anger can destroy years of progress, and 1 moment of fear can stop a lifetime of potential. Here's the hook most people ignore: if you don't control your emotions, they will control you, and they will never lead you where you want to go. Emotional control is not about suppressing feelings or pretending you don't care. It's about awareness, restraint, and a choice. It's the ability to pause when everything inside you wants to react. That pause is power. In that space, and you decide whether you respond with clarity or react with regret. The strongest individuals are not the loudest in the room. They are the calmest under pressure. And most people let external events decide their internal state. A comment ruins their mood. A setback destroys their focus. A delay triggers frustration. But mastered individuals understand this truth: events are neutral, meaning is assigned. When you learn to separate what happens from how you respond, and you become unshakable, you stop giving other people permission to disturb your peace or redirect your path. Here's another hard hook: and emotions are excellent servants but terrible leaders. Fear will always try to keep you comfortable. Anger will always push you to react instead of think, and doubt will always exaggerate risks and minimize your abilities. Self-mastery means acknowledging these emotions without obeying them. You listen, but you don't surrender control. When you train emotional control, your decisions improve, your communication sharpens, and your confidence deepens. And you stop burning bridges and start building leverage. You don't waste energy on impulsive reactions, you invest it in intentional action. Over time, and this discipline creates respect from others and from yourself, because nothing is more powerful than a person who remains composed when everyone else is losing control. And most people overestimate what they can change in a single day and underestimate what daily habits can change over a lifetime. And they chase big breakthroughs while ignoring the small actions that quietly shape who they become. Here's the hook most people miss: your future is being built right now, and not by your goals, but by your routines. What you repeatedly do when no one is watching is what ultimately defines you. Habits remove decision fatigue, and when actions become automatic, discipline no longer feels like a struggle. You don't rely on willpower, you rely on systems. And the most successful individuals don't make better promises, they build better habits. They design their day so progress becomes inevitable. 1 focused hour, and 1 completed task, 1 intentional choice. Repeated daily, these actions compound into extraordinary results. Most people fail not because they lack ambition, but because their habits work against them. Late nights steal tomorrow's energy. Distractions fracture focus. Inconsistent effort creates inconsistent outcomes. And the hard truth is this: every habit is a vote for strength or weakness, for growth or stagnation. And the mind always follows the pattern you reinforce. And here's another hook worth facing: Habits shape identity before results ever show up. You don't wait to feel confident to act disciplined, and you act disciplined until confidence becomes natural. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, self-respect increases. Each time you break one, trust erodes. Over time, and this internal trust determines how far you believe you can go. Powerful habits are simple, not dramatic. Waking up with intention, protecting your focus, and finishing what you start. These small, repeated actions train your mind to operate at a higher standard. And once those standards are embedded into your daily behavior, and progress stops being a struggle and starts becoming who you are. Most people live inside a mental prison they didn't even realize they built, and the walls are made of past failures, negative self-talk, and borrowed opinions from people who never took the risk themselves. Here's the hook most people never question, and your life will never rise higher than the story you keep telling yourself. If your mindset is limited, your actions will always be limited too. And mastering your mindset begins with awareness. Every thought you repeat strengthens a belief, and every belief quietly shapes your decisions. And when you constantly tell yourself something is too hard, too risky, or not meant for you, your mind searches for proof to make that statement true. But when you train your thinking toward growth, possibility, and ownership, your mind begins working for you instead of against you. And here's a truth that separates high performers from everyone else. Your mind should be trained like a weapon, not left on autopilot. Challenges are not signals to stop, and they are signals to adapt. Failure is not an identity, it is feedback. A mastered mindset doesn't avoid discomfort, it uses it as a tool for expansion. And this shift alone can turn obstacles into leverage. Negative self-talk is one of the most dangerous habits because it sounds like your own voice. But just because a thought appears doesn't mean it deserves authority. Self-mastery requires you to question your thoughts, not obey them, and replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "I failed" with "I gained data." These small mental adjustments reprogram how you approach pressure and uncertainty. And when your mindset is aligned with growth, consistency becomes easier, resilience becomes stronger, and confidence becomes earned. And you stop waiting for validation because your standards come from within. Over time, this internal shift creates an unbreakable foundation, and one where challenges sharpen you instead of stopping you, and progress becomes a natural outcome of how you think. And most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because their standards are too low, and they accept excuses from themselves that they would never accept from others. Here's the hook that changes everything, and your life will never rise above the standards you are willing to tolerate. What you allow becomes your normal, and your normal quietly shapes your future. And raising your personal standards means deciding in advance how you operate no matter how you feel. It means you don't negotiate with laziness, inconsistency, or self-doubt. You stop asking what's easy and start asking what's required. High standards create clarity. They remove confusion. When your standards are clear and decisions become simple, because you already know who you are and how you move. Most people lower their standards in private while trying to appear confident in public. But self-mastery works the opposite way. You demand more from yourself when no one is watching. You hold yourself accountable for preparation, effort, and integrity, and that private discipline builds public confidence. You don't need to prove anything, your actions speak consistently. Here's another hook most people ignore, and standards are not about pressure, they're about identity. You don't rise to them occasionally, you live by them daily. When you raise your standards, and you naturally change your habits, your environment, and even the people you allow access to your time and energy. And weak influences fade because they no longer match who you are becoming. High standards don't make life easier, they make it clearer. And you stop tolerating distractions that drain you and behaviors that hold you back. Over time, this clarity compounds into self-respect, momentum, and quiet confidence. And when your standards are elevated, your actions align automatically, and progress becomes the natural byproduct of the level you refuse to drop below. And so if you want to change your life, don't start by changing everything around you. Start by mastering the one thing you can fully control: yourself, your habits, and your mindset, your standards. Because the moment you master yourself is the moment nothing and no one can stop you. Master yourself and the rest will follow.